Several years ago, when I was just a year older than my little girl Macy, we were at my grandma's on a Christmas Eve, and she lived out in Sun Valley Road, and her name was Boots. Some of you may know her. It's Boots Conley. I don't remember her name. Was it Conley Miller? She had a couple marriages. Stout was her last one, I believe. But she lived down Sun Valley Road. That's where my dad, and y'all know, I think my uncle Dickie Miller and Becky. Did Becky grow up here, Jenny? Yeah, so she grew up here, and so a lot of you know them. But we were at my grandma's. It was Christmas Eve. I was in the first grade. And I can remember my dad laying down the phone at my grandma's. It was a green rotary phone, and laying it down, and I could tell something was wrong. And we all kind of were playing, and we were running around, and we all kind of just gathered around the table there in the kitchen. And she had those plastic tablecloths with Santa Claus on it, and little plastic glasses that you could just go like this and crack them, the hard ones. She always had peanut butter fudge and stale cheese puffs. I think she saved year after year. She put them back in the bag, I think, for the next year. And walnuts. She always had walnuts and Diet Right. I hated Diet Right, but that's all she ever had. So here we were, just opening our gifts, having fun, drinking Diet Right and eating walnuts, and started listening to my dad talking about a family that grew up, or a family that went to church with us there at Reynoldsville Baptist Church. And that family, the dad had been laid off from work, and the mom was in the hospital. It was on Christmas Eve. And Dad was talking about how these two little boys weren't going to get much for Christmas. And I can remember only being in first grade, but I remember something was going on, and I knew it wasn't good. And it was, it was a long time ago. We didn't have Walmart. We had Hills, but I think they closed at noon back then on Christmas Eve. So I remember my grandma walking over and getting money out of her purse and handing it to my dad and my Uncle Dickie, and they left. And I remember the old screen door shutting. And when that happened, my aunt and my mom and we all kind of ran around and got boxes and bows and ribbon and scotch tape and stuff, and anticipated them coming back. And they did. They had a whole bunch of toys with them that they found all-night gas station open in Bridgeport, and they bought up all the toys and were coming back. And I remember when they were going, my cousin John Paul and I were coloring some pictures that we were going to put in those packages. And I wrote the boy's name, and I put from JP, and my uncle said, well, you can give that to him maybe at church on Sunday. And I said, no, I want to give them to him tonight. And he said, well, we don't want them to know where the gifts came from. And I said, well, how are we going to get credit for it then? I wanted them to know they came from our family. But I learned many years ago a lesson that has stuck with me ever since about the greatest story ever told, and that was the spirit of Christmas, giving and giving of yourself and not getting credit for it. But it led me to write a song a couple years ago that I put on a Christmas album. It tells the story called Christmas Eve down Sun Valley Road. Sun Valley Road, we gathered at my grandma's house many years ago, telling stories, playing games, giving gifts that night. As Daddy laid the phone down, you could tell some things weren't right. So gathered around the table, he told what he had learned. A family down the valley, Christmas took a turn. Two boys and their parents had run across hard times. Their daddy just got laid off, and they were down to their last dime. And silence fell upon the room with tears in some eyes. It was late on Christmas Eve, we didn't have much time. trip. We gathered to find ribbons, bows, boxes that would fit. We headed down the valley where the family stayed. We put the presents on the porch, knocked and ran away. Christmas Eve down Sun Valley Road, a little boy learned the greatest story ever told. Heaven gave the gift that we could have eternal life, but now it's up to us to make sure things down here go right. I learned the greatest story ever told. Christmas Eve down Sun Valley Road. All the gifts that I've received, all the carols I've sung, nothing stands out in my mind like the lesson that I learned. The greatest gift that I receive is the chance I had to give and share the message of the gospel every day I live. Christmas Eve down Sun Valley Road, a little boy learned the greatest story ever told. Heaven gave the gift that we could have eternal life, but now it's up to us to make sure things down here go right. I learned the greatest story ever told. On Christmas Eve down Sun Valley Road, Christmas Eve down Sun Valley Road, I know the greatest story